Let's go. I think we're live. Let me check the live dashboard on the YouTube site itself. That should be good. There we go. Today's going to be a little bit of a weird one. My voice is back. After 2 weeks of not having a voice, or at least not having a voice that can deal with talking for 2 to 3 hours straight. I still have... That was not planned, but works out very well. I still have a little bit of a cough, so that's going to be a thing. And that's probably going to be a thing for the next couple of weeks, because it doesn't seem like it's letting up anytime soon. And on top of all that drama, it's also 30 degrees Celsius in my room at the moment. So this is probably going to be a delirious as all hell type of live stream. So anybody who tunes in live to this instead of watching the VOD is probably in for a good time. Also, I have a controller now. Last time when I did a stream, I didn't have a working controller. So I went out and spent way too much money buying a PS5 controller. And I made it work. Not with my menus yet, but that's just a general controller thing. I made it work... Why doesn't it work? Hold the fuck on. It's supposed to work with... my game. I literally played my game with this controller yesterday. And now it's doing this again. Okay, let's fucking check the project settings. Surely this didn't like revert back or change or whatever, right? Yeah, we have this raw input setup for this generic USB controller. And then we have the input mappings. So what actually is the problem? It even is I can open up my Steam with the home button on my controller. Why doesn't the controller itself function in the game? This is not the controller, this is my mouse, I should point out. Let me real quick... What might have been happening here is I might have plugged in the controller after starting up Unreal Engine. That was a bit of an issue yesterday as well, at some point. So I think, for some reason, Unreal doesn't seem to recognize the controller once it's already started up, and I plug it in. So it needs to be plugged in when Unreal starts up. It apparently like does a check for input devices, at least for raw input devices. Maybe like supported input devices like an Xbox controller just work. But for like raw input devices, I think it just does a check like on startup or something. That's what it seems like anyway. I don't know if that's actually what it does, but it's a little bit wacky. Also don't know how that functions in a packaged game, if that has the same issue. But honestly, like I can't really change much about that. That's an Unreal thing, and that's not a me thing. The fact that PS4 controllers and PS5 controllers aren't at least like added by default as raw input devices is mind-boggling to me, personally. Like, I would assume there's probably some kind of licensing thing or some kind of like rights that prevents them from doing so. Anyway, let's check. Yeah, so now I can walk around with my controller. So that's what we want. So I'm playing my game with my new DualSense controller now. And you can see, I think this is the first time I'm showing this on the channel, actually. I think, put a video up on the Discord. But I have some new animations and some new particle effects. So this is now my basic combo for the sword. The animations still do need a little bit of work in places. And obviously, the scythe still has these, well, those animations, right? So there's a little bit of work to be done there. But again, you're gonna kind of have to deal with the fact that my throat is fucked in all kinds of ways. Okay, so there's one thing that I am a little weirded out about, and that is that it specifically doesn't recognize the PS5 inputs in the UI stuff. And I don't know why. I can just click through this with my mouse easily enough. When I was using a PS4 controller with like the DS for Windows, no problem. PS5 controller as a generic USB device, it just doesn't. Which is weird. But yeah, so this is now like the basic combat. And specifically, I am particularly happy with the timing of the combo finisher there. I think that actually feels and looks really satisfying. I'm not going to say it's on par with the actual like Kingdom Hearts animations, which is like the bar that I'm trying to clear, which we're never going to get to that level, obviously. Every time I get to one of these, I really need to fix it at some point. But it's getting close. Like, if we can get the average animation in my game to feel that level of satisfying, or at least like build to something that feels like that level of satisfying, I think we've got a good enough combat system. I think we can work with that, right? Like this. The fact that it jumps up, waits for a moment, and then slams down. I really do like the timing of that specific animation. It feels really, really good. And what you'll note about a lot of these animations is that they're actually slower in the end, again, than the animations that I had before. The animations that I had before, at some point, I just wanted like more impact, more responsive, more like quickness. And that ended up with like swing animations that didn't actually show much in the way of swinging. Like, not a lot was actually happening in those animations. And due to that, there's also a bug with this guy where he tries to heal himself. Luckily, I can teleport, so fuck him. So the animations became shorter and shorter and shorter, which at some point left almost no actual like room or time for any movement to happen at all. Which means that the animations were distinct between each other. And there's also like no actual movement to read, which means that there's no feeling of impact. What I learned to do is, and you might be able to see that in these animations, is they come out instantly. Like, the moment I press a button, the animation starts. There's almost no wind-up to these animations, because that's the thing with game animations compared to like film animation, is you don't have a lot of room for wind-up in animation, because that is the part that makes it feel unresponsive. Once the actual animation itself starts, though, that doesn't necessarily need to be that fast. Like, the swing itself can be any speed you want, really, within reason. And then we have a little bit of follow-through, which also shouldn't be too long, because then the next attack doesn't feel particularly responsive. But that is kind of what I figured out. And to a certain extent, I think some of these swings could even be a little bit slower to allow the body to move a little bit more. Speaking of the body, I've been running into an issue, and we'll get into playing some Kingdom Hearts alongside this today, by the way. But I've been kind of running into an issue where the body doesn't have like enough detail and enough definition going on. And comparatively has like specifically pretty stubby legs, which makes it kind of difficult to make very well, like readable animation. The silhouette isn't really an issue, but it is everything within the silhouette, how it moves. Like, if an arm rotates around its own like axis, right? The silhouette of your character doesn't change. But there still is movement there. But because this guy is like just fully black, and there's no actual detail, either in the textures or in the model itself, when he moves around like one of his own limbs, when he like turns his limbs or whatever, you don't actually see much movement, and that makes things feel a little bit more stilted than they should be. And that is a little bit of an issue. That's an issue that I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to tackle at present, but we'll figure that out at some point, I'm sure, hopefully. So that's kind of been the update of what I have been working on over the past couple of weeks while I've been sick and while I've been doing like other things, and of course I can't make my way through here. So that's where we are at the moment. Very much an improvement of what we had before. Next up, I think, is making the animations for the scythe, which are going to be slower than the sword's tail, but not like this sluggish. I think that this is actually a good example of what I'm talking about, right? In responsiveness. You can see the sword just instantly swings around. Like, the swing just starts pretty much instantly. If I switch over to the scythe, you can see the backward movement in the animation before the swing actually starts. And that backward movement has good reason to exist. That's fine, but that backward movement should only be as long as the blend-in time of the animation, which in the case of these combat animations is, I think, 0.2 seconds. And not longer than that. So we have that backward movement, which is the portion of the animation that is used to like blend into the actual animation. So we blend from like the normal idle pose into the swing animation, and while doing that blending, it's doing the backward movement to like wind up. Once that blending is done, we don't really need to have any more wind up, because at that point it starts to feel sluggish. At least that is how I have come to look at these animation related things. So now that we have done that, I do want to do a little bit of a almost a case study. And that is, I'm going to go into my Epic Games library real quick here. And we're going to open up Kingdom Hearts HD Remix. We're mostly going to be looking at the combat in Kingdom Hearts 2. Because that is the combat that I just prefer. We'll probably do a little bit of Kingdom Hearts 1. If I have a save file for it, maybe we'll take a look at a little bit of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Because I know both of those combat systems are a little slower paced. Like, they're a little bit more sluggish in a lot of ways compared to Kingdom Hearts 2. And I don't have Kingdom Hearts 3 installed. But Kingdom Hearts 3 is pretty much like Kingdom Hearts 2 with way too much extra mechanics added on top of it. So I don't really care about any of that, to be honest with you. So we're going to get started just playing through a couple of fights here. For the most part, just some mob fights. I might do like a boss fight. Just because. Also, I don't think my screen region is set up for a full screen game. So this is probably going to look a little bit weird when we get into the game itself. I imagine. Maybe, we'll see. I wish we could skip through that. There we go. I have a bunch of save files here, and I think that's actually quite nice, because this allows me to say, hey, I want to see what combat is like at the start of the game, and then like the middle and the end of the game, because this is literally... Oh, I might need to close Unreal for this. Yeah, this isn't... What the fuck? Oh. Yeah, that's a save. These are save files from randomizers. That's maybe not great. Well, welcome to the stream. But yeah, also Kingdom Hearts is running in fucking slow motion. So that's not a good Frame rate, we can just say unlocked. Maybe that kind of fixes it. But my GPU just straight up doesn't like running Unreal side by side with a game, which is fair. It just takes a moment every time I want to like restart Unreal Engine. So I'd really rather not have to close the engine if I don't have to. I also don't like the fact that I have to go through this menu every time I close and restart the game. Why does everything just take my time? I have limited time on this godforsaken planet to begin with. Just let me get into the game. Just let me get into my projects. Just let me get to what I need to do. Why does there need to be like 50? For Unreal Engine, I get it. It just needs to load in a lot of stuff. But for this game, I'm like, oh man. Like, this Disney logo, unskippable. Then the Square Enix logo, unskippable. Then we have a bunch of like pre-credits. Mostly Disney stuff again. Mostly Square Enix stuff, actually. Unskippable. Only when we get to this can I skip ahead, which is a little annoying. Anyway. So let's not use that save file. But instead, like, I'm really scared at this point that I'm going to load like a randomized save file. That's still gonna fuck me. Okay, so it is not a slow-mo, but it is very framey. We're going to, hold on. I'm going to actually close Unreal and see if that... Why is it still so framey? I mean, I know that the PC ports for Kingdom Hearts are optimized like shit, but that's kind of insane. Okay, so we have this, right? I mean, my animations, obviously, are worse than the animations you have here. The animations for this game are very well crafted. There's a lot more stuff, a lot more readability going on, and like character poses and character movements compared to mine. But I just want to get like a general barometer of what the game feel is, like how it feels, how satisfying everything is. And what I really feel is that still the animations on a case-by-case basis for this game are still slower than my animations. And there's more variation between the speed of the animations. Obviously, we have the finishing, like the combo finishers, which are slower. Which I also do have. But a lot of the actual mid-combo attacks also are a fair bit slower. It's just the start of the combo generally is very, very fast. Oh no, watching that cutscene. Generally, the start of the combo seems to be very, very fast, right? And that's partly due to the proximity-based combat system, I think. So what ends up happening is we use the sliding dash ability 9 times out of 10 when we actually like start engaging in a combo. That's an animation and an ability that just happens very fast and comes out very fast. After that, when a combo is initiated, we end up... I also should like actually play the game. After the combo is initially like started, the animations slow down. As in, they are slower. Which means that you're already like juggling the enemy a little bit, so the responsiveness doesn't become as important anymore, I think. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. After this fight, we're gonna load a save file for the end of the game and see if there's any significant difference in that. I expect not. But that does bring me to another point, and I thought I was almost ready to package another like preview build of the game for people to test. And I just remembered that I also want to implement a much more simple, but I also want to implement a proximity-based combat system, which is to say, I want to add in a area of effect ability, a dash ability, a up ability, and a down ability for every single weapon in the game. And at this point, that's just 2 weapons, but that is, like, that needs to be programmed as well. And the way that should work is that the dash ability should only happen at the start of a combo. So when your combo counter is 0, it should check, hey, the distance to the enemy, is it greater than a certain amount? If so, do this dash ability. That is actually, like, stupidly easy. But then we get to something a little bit more tricky. And I've tried to implement this before and I just kind of shelved it because it didn't end up working that well. Also, I think sliding dash hits multiple times. Which is, like, I'm not going to copy that probably, but that might help it feel a little bit more beefy than it actually is. There's a real issue with my code and supporting an attack that hits multiple times. Like, there's actually, that is quite annoying. Because the ability that drives all that in my game is like one parent ability that just plays an animation and waits for you to hit something. And then wants the ability itself. And it is specifically this room that is that framey. That's weird. And it just keeps an array of all the enemies you've hit, and it just discards that array again at the end of the ability, I think. Does something like that anyway. But to make a separate function, because it does this within the ability, so to make separate function, I guess I could do that in the ability. We're really annoying though, but I could do that. That is something to keep in mind. We're probably not actually going to do anything with that. We're going to load this save file. How far along is the game? That's a fantastic question. Let's not do the lingering will quite at this moment, but I do want to do some more like end game stuff. So if we... Oh yeah, this is also a randomizer save file, so we're not going to have access to the final world, I don't think. Yeah, we don't. That's not great. that's not great. Oh, and I can't even go back into Disney Castle now. Oh, and the game's frozen. Oh no, it's not. It's not. Yeah, the game's absolutely shat itself here. Like, what even is any of this? Obviously, the randomizer has kind of messed with this. But I can't back out of this at this point. Look, I made this save file like a year ago when I was really into randomized runs. And it just kept that cloud save, and that's what I'm using right now. But I don't have the randomizer installed anymore. Obviously, otherwise I would go back into like the Garden of Assemblage, but it's triggering all kinds of story cutscenes because, like, clearly I've done content that I'm not supposed to do in an order that I'm not supposed to do it. So I'm guessing a lot of, like, event flags have been triggered, which is kind of upsetting the code of the game, I feel. But we still have an endgame moveset, more or less, I believe. So we can just... I kind of go into here and hopefully not crash the game. I mean, I'm level 40 something, so... I just need to find a couple of enemies here to... Oh, and the moveset is so much better on this save file as well. Makes me feel how fucking stiff my own movement is. But yeah, you see, this is like, that's quite a bit different. This is a lot faster. Because I have a bunch of abilities that just come out faster on this save file. So the progression in-game throughout like your playthrough isn't just that your combos get longer. It seems like the starting move of your combo might also be faster, but it's still sliding dash. So that doesn't actually make sense. It's probably just those other, which again comes down to the proximity-based combat system, which I need to somehow implement something like that in my game. I don't have party members, so I don't need to worry about fucking Goofy. Hey, there we Magnet Spiral, actually. That's an ability that I've literally just stolen from my game. Okay, there's one thing. Kingdom Hearts 2 is effectively like the best action RPG ever made. No need to change my mind. You can. It's literally impossible to change my mind on that. There's one thing that I will always hate on, and specifically in the Final Mix version, is that you have Quick Run, which is mapped to the square button. And then you have Dodge Roll, which is also mapped to the square button, but if you only like lightly tap it, it does Dodge Roll, and if you hold it, it does Quick Run. I have gotten used to this at this point because I've played this game a billion times. It's really bad. Anyway. How would you describe the final game when it's ready to your vision in one sentence? I would describe it as... That's a very good question. I would describe it as... Metroidvania Kingdom Hearts. That's two words, not a sentence. But there's a couple of like main... and we're going to go back into Unreal now because I've had a little bit of time working with this. So we can just quit out of this and actually start working on my game again. There's a couple of important pillars that I am keeping in mind for the game. Number one is the game feel. It's by far the most important thing. Just needs to feel fun to play and needs to feel fun to beat up bad guys, which is what we're working on today, obviously. And I have been working on for a couple of weeks now, and I probably will be working on for a couple more weeks. So that is the most important thing, and that is the portion of the game that I'm taking from the Kingdom Hearts series. Then, pillar number two is the kind of Metroidvania style. I don't think Metroidvania is really the correct way to put it. Because Metroidvania, you have a structure where you unlock abilities, which then opens up new parts of the map. And that doesn't happen in my game. That is the big difference between a real Metroidvania and what I am making. What I am making is closer to a Mega Man game in that regard. And that is to say that at least once you've gone through the tutorial dungeon, you get thrown into the middle of the map, and all other dungeons are just available for you to do in any order you want. And when you beat a dungeon, the difficulty of the entire game just increases a little bit, so that you really can do it in any order you want. It's not like, yeah, you can do it in any order you want, but like this boss is the weakest, and then we've got this one, and then we've got this one. They're all going to be roughly equally as difficult. There's gonna be certain bosses that will have benefits if you have other like parts of the game finished before it. I assume. But by and large, what happens is you go through a dungeon, you beat that boss fight, you gain a new weapon, the entire difficulty of the game increases. I just like have a value that just increases everybody's like strength and HP values. And then you move on to another dungeon. You can, in theory, what you could do is you could do all the dungeons, beat none of the bosses, have the game stay at a low difficulty, but you don't get any of the new weapons. And then just go through getting all the weapons and going to the final boss fight. So in that regard, it's a little bit more open world than a like Mega Man structure, but that's kind of like in between a Metroidvania open world Mega Man type of deal. This is no longer one sentence. Anyway, let's go back into my animation level. Matter of fact, I'm going to go into my editor preferences and we're going to open, or it's actually project settings, isn't it? Default map, right? Editor startup map will be animation level. Because a lot of the time, I actually start up with that one. I would rather start up with that one. Doing this side by side. We've just played a bit of Kingdom Hearts. Now we're going to be playing this again. I think we're not that far off, honestly. Obviously, again, the quality of the animations as a whole is a different question. I'm just not an animator. So the fact that I'm even getting this close, I think, like, not to toot my own horn, but it's kind of impressive. So characters, player, level sequences. Okay, so the first one needs to come out fairly quickly. But the first one is also actually going to usually be the dashing attack, I would say. So maybe we just need to make that a separate animation altogether. And this one doesn't even need to like come out that quick. You can see that I actually did animate the backward swing here, but in the montage, I think we started from here. We don't actually use this part of the animation. So I could very much add in a little bit extra here, but I feel like for the most part, like it's this portion of the animation that is the important thing. So let's slow these all down ever so slightly more. So like give that 2 more frames, give that like 3 more frames. The actual swing portion should take... Okay, maybe that's a little too slow. Yeah, let's take 2 and 1 frame off of both of those again. I don't know, we can try that out. I feel like I might have just messed things up. I might just need to also change some of the movement. That's also not the attack that I'm doing. Hold on, what the fuck? Oh, that's Scythe attack one. That's why it's so fucked. That makes sense. We need to worry about sword attack one. We're not even going to be worrying about the Scythe probably today, I would guess. Maybe we will, I don't know. But still, we have the backward movement here, and it is this part of the animation that I actually... Like, that makes a lot more sense, right? That is way too quick. I also figured that animating in 120 frames per second gives way more precision in what we can actually, like, do in terms of timing. Because even if it doesn't play back at 120 frames per second, the interpolation is still going to, like, take these keyframes, like, as the thing that it's doing. So you can see that this is still relatively fast. There's also a bit of a jump in here. What do these keyframes, like, why is there 2 keyframes on top of each other here? Is there? What actually is going on here? It's this keyframe? Specifically, maybe? No? Yes, it is. I don't know what that did. Maybe I've deleted the wrong one. We'll see. It still has that little, like, hiccup at the end there. Oh, it's that part. Okay, so this just needs to be like a fair bit slower then, right? Is that what we're doing? I don't know. Uh, that feels a little bit more like it. This is why you don't animate with this many keyframes, by the way, and you use the curve editor. Do as I say, not as I do. Let's say you must buy props and environments, characters and animations. Could you tell ballpark percentages of where a lot of money would go? I would. Depends on the budget available, honestly. But props and environments would be the vast majority of what I would spend money on. I personally don't think, with very few exceptions, that using pre-made like assets for characters makes any sense. Like the entire purpose of a character is to have characteristics and like be its own like unique being in your world. If that is a pre-made asset, that same thing exists in other worlds. There's only so many ways to make a shovel, right? So for a prop, for a shovel, for a sword, hell, I might even replace a sword that I have here at some point with a just pre-bought sword. There's only so many ways that you can model those, and maybe you can like adjust things a little bit, but for the most part, a sword is maybe a bad example, but a chair, a box, a barrel, a cactus, an apple. There's only so many ways you can make these things, aside from like stylistic choices and like, but that's mostly material and like post-processing in engine itself as well, and different shaders. A character, however, is a singular thing. So I don't feel like if you can avoid it, you should use effectively any pre-made characters. That money that you have available is probably better spent on making props that are just kind of about and don't need to have any uniqueness to them anyway. And I think of all the potential like assets that you could buy, props is just the best altogether. Because code obviously is also nice, but oftentimes will also be bothersome to implement in a larger game. So sound effects, that's another one. You didn't list that one. I'm going to add that to your list. Sound effects. Sound effects is huge. I need more sound. It's something about the curves in this portion. Something here is going a little weird. It's this portion, like that bit. Something is, I think, in the spine. But depends on what you can do yourself, I guess. I mostly meant for agencies, freelancers to make them for you, original content. Okay, that is a different that is a different question. That is if it's uniquely made content by freelancers, I would probably be inclined to spend a larger portion of that money on characters for the exact same reason. It's because in the end, characterization in modeling, but specifically in animation, is so important to make something come to life and make something feel good. And it's not exactly my expertise, as anybody who's watched any of these streams can probably tell. No, don't play. Actually, is it? It's this bit here. I don't know what's happening. Well, case in point, I guess. somewhere in one of these curves, something is going horribly wrong. I think it's this. I think it's this bit. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to remove this keyframe altogether and see what that does. It still does it. Then I'm going to remove this keyframe altogether. See what that does. Okay, so it is something to do with this keyframe. At least we know that. Subsplat might be interesting to look into sound effects. I also do have, like, every year there's that one company who just drops a bunch of game sound effects. Around, like, GDC, I believe. I have their entire bundles from, like, 2016 to 2024 or 2023, which I think in total is, like, 100 gigabytes of sound effects. So I just need to go through those and, like, start implementing those a little bit more. Because a lot of that is probably better than the effects that I have right now. Can we please normalize the curves? Holy shit! I mean, that makes sense. I think it might be this. It's probably not the full body, right? It is. Yeah, so what's happening is, I think... Let's actually... Why am I not seeing... There we go, the rig. Yeah, I think it's the hips. Which would be this one. And then it would be one of the rotations, which I always get these mixed up. So this is going to be fun. None of these seem to make sense. Is it not the hips? It's spine 2? This is pretty steep. I think these keyframes are the ones that might need to go. Nope, it still does that. That's a position keyframe. It's not particularly steep either. I don't know what's going on, man. It's definitely one of those... Is it this? I think it might be this one. No, that's a position keyframe. It's definitely a rotation keyframe that I'm looking for. None of this is super steep. It might just be a combination of multiple keyframes stacked on top of each other, all doing a little bit of extra movement. This is definitely very steep. But that is... Yeah, that's location. So we're definitely, like, fucking around with a rotation-based thing here. So let's get rid of some of these and... Like, I like the recentering movement that we have here. It's just something about it. It's definitely not the neck, though. And also isn't the full body, because that thing just straight up doesn't animate through this. Does it? Definitely not on a rotation, right? It does, actually. What? Oh, that's spine. It is the... Oh, it is the full body. That might have been the thing we're looking for then. That's that part that's blending out anyway. But I think we just improved that a little bit at least. Okay, now it feels like he's getting stuck a little bit in this bit, so this is definitely a little too slow. But I think everything before that also might just be a little bit on the fast side. This is what you get when you animate to achieve movement rather than from pose to pose. Is a lot of unnecessary keyframes. Ooh, that feels very awkward. It's mostly this that I needed to make a fair bit longer. This is maybe a little too long. Now if we start like shaving off one frame at a time over this, maybe we can get somewhere. So one frame at a time, not two. Well, actually, we're working at 120 frames per second, so it's probably fine to do two. Or just one. That works too. Sure. 4 is definitely a bit much, though. You should avoid unnecessary keyframes. Yeah, you should. Just makes it easier to move these things around for timing purposes, but like at this point, like a lot of these animations are animations that I made quite a while ago, and I've just been tweaking. And I really don't feel like starting from scratch on all these. For any new animations, I will probably have better keyframe purposes, but that's kind of the thing, right? When you're getting used to something that you're not like that used to yet, not that good at yet, you kind of brute force it. And then once you get comfortable with like the output, the feedback, then you can start to improve the process as well. Oh my god. Speaking of improving the process, it's definitely not happening here. Okay, so what we're going to do actually for this one is I am going to... So this is mostly like all the spine stuff, right? So if I just remove this... and then do a little bit more like... Hold on, can do 3 and Control W. You see now we have more or less the same movement, just with one less keyframe there. Holy shit, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, there's one piece here where it just, like, suddenly speeds up. It's really difficult to nail down where that actually happens, though. It's this, I think, right? Between here and there. So this just needs to be slower. Because it's not a weird keyframe that happens there. That's just the movement is too fast. And now in general, everything is just too slow. But I think we can also, like, get rid of these two keyframes. Because this being the start of the swing itself... Actually, we can also get rid of this one, probably. I am improving my keyframes now. Because, frankly... if I'm going to be changing the timing around, I don't want to deal with all those individual keyframes. And we'll tidy up some of this stuff in a moment. But we'll have less to tidy up anyway, so that's actually a good thing. This portion still happens too quickly, I think. Especially since we just talked about the follow-up attacks taking a little bit longer. And that being fine. His legs are all kinds of fucked up. Don't look at his legs. I think that's kind of good. And honestly, like between this pose and that pose, they're being a little bit longer. Him just like standing and sticking around a bit might actually be kind of cool. Fuck it. Go up to 30 FPS. Or frame 30. Oh, this is actually... let's give it like a good little bit. Actually... I suppose aren't as similar as I thought they were. But I guess what we can do is we can just like... Control Z. Oh, no. Our way through and say we want like this frame. Hello, I want to insert a keyframe. Oh, that's that button. Okay, cool. Just doing this still adds a little bit of movement, but also creates like that moment of pause to like have a little bit more rhythm to it. Not just being one continuous movement. It's not bam 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 bam. It's bam 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 die. Which I think is probably better. That's sword attack 2, right? So let's see. The montages are probably messed up. Let's see. Yeah, the montages are still very messed up. In their timings, that is. So we have sword attack 1 montage. From there we can just select all the other ones. I also need to work on his legs, man. Just fucking look at what these legs... What the fuck even is that? I think actually sword attack 1 is probably good. It's mostly attack 2, which needs to start a little... What do you mean start time is 0? Now what? Which attack did we just modify? Oh, that was sword attack 1. Was it? It must have been, because the rest is not checked out. Oh. Well, in that case, this might be a little much. But this thing also has a start time of... What the fuck? Am I going insane? Okay, now that we have this open anyway, let's take a look at these knees. Because this is not okay. um... Where even is this guy's ball target? Like, actually, is it this one? It's this one, isn't it? Okay, by the time we get to here... I mean, that's not a great pose to have. It's also because this foot just needs to be elsewhere. It's pretty good. Okay, I think we might have fixed his legs as well now. I mean, it's not great. I think what we should do is... that. That also will help, I think. Still feel a little bit of a stuttering there at the end. I don't know what that is or why, but... I guess the entire swing should just be in one keyframe and entirely driven by just, like, curves. Because at that point, it's easier to just slow down the swing as a whole. Maybe not that much. Gotta be careful not to overcompensate back in the other direction, where I've made things too fast now, because they were too slow before. But now I gotta be careful not to make them too slow again. Like, landing in a happy medium where it actually feels good is really difficult. Like, that is definitely too slow. Let's see, a tenth of a second in 120 frames is, here it stops blending out. So realistically, that is where this should start. Right around here. Let's see what that feels like. That's not updated. Or is it? I am so confused right now. Open linked animation sequence. It is this one. Oh, his knees do still do that weird thing. Never mind. Oh, I think the keyframe where I fixed it got removed. Yeah. So I don't really want this to animate yet. At that point. So can we please just... At least not that way. Maybe we do want to animate a little bit. Not too much. I don't want to feel too much like he is sliding his feet, because that's already an issue. Also, that is definitely an issue. What the fuck? It's this one, right? Yes. Let's see if we can curve edit this bitch. Do we have two keyframes on top of each other again? I hate it when that happens. Yeah, we do. I don't know if I'm happy with my choice of animating everything in engine after all, because of this kind of stuff. I don't see a reason why it couldn't snap keyframes. I do, but it's... I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't take animation, like, opinions from me, though, because, like, the fuck do I know? It's actually not that bad. His other lag is definitely a little, like, on the stiff side. Something needs to happen there. There is a bit there where I think the issue isn't actually with the lag. I think the issue is with... this. And I just fucked up some keyframes again, because why not? Yeah, the issue was with the knee getting all the way extended, I think. Animation still sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it still fucking sucks. Part of the issue is also that the forward movement needs to happen later due to what I did. And now it's not happening at all. What the fuck? No, seriously, how does that even happen? I'm so confused about everything in life. Like, it's definitely fine if this happens a little sooner. I don't think that this is improving anything. Hold on, he does... He just doesn't move forward that much, I think. But I do think that the swing itself does feel more satisfying. And the end time just needs to be extended a little bit as well now. Maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, that is an improvement. Oh, no. Get it back. Open it up. Pull it back a little bit here. Something like that. A little bit more. Not too much. Careful for overcorrection. Just doing the first animation over and over again here. Just to... It feels like it's very sluggish in its responsiveness to do the second attack. But I think that has more to do with the second attack than the first. So maybe like extend this through, because changing it doesn't seem to be affecting things too much. Matter of fact, actually letting him do his entire swing. Okay, another interesting thing to figure out, because I actually pulled it the other direction now, making him have more of the end of the swing. That means that the end of the swing is the part where it starts fading out rather than the middle of the swing. I think that's making it feel more natural. Because it just does the entire swing now, right? Like, it's slower, but not less responsive. Okay, that is definitely a little too slow though. Not slow, but long, or whatever you want to call it. First, second, then third, fourth should be relatively fast, I think. So let's do... I think I call it 3 updated or something like that. This one, yeah. So let's go to Sword Attack 2 next. Where we already have less keyframes, so that's a good thing. Let's increase this to 120. So I really like the idea that I came up with there, where I just like insert a keyframe here. And then just hold on that for like 1/10 of a second. And then the rest of this animation itself, like we can get rid of these 2 keyframes. The swing itself is still way too fucking fast. Like that could easily be that. Of course, now we want to look at the rotation of the wrist specifically, I think. Where even are we on the timeline? There we are. Can we just get this normalized? Thank you. What the? Where are we? Location. I think this is mostly a rotation thing, right? So yeah, it's something to do with the rotation on one of these, I think. Why does it keep doing this weird ass... Okay, we do absolute view. The normalization is doing weird stuff. So yeah, okay, this has no rotation at all. Why does it keep resetting me back to frame 0 every time I pick a new... Like, that's actually the fucking worst. None of this is rotating though, so that's not actually what I'm looking at. Now, what is rotating? Something... Oh, it's this. Right, it's a rotation for this. Yeah, that's the rotation I'm looking for. It should just be a lot steeper, right? And then we also do... It's going to reset me back to... Oh, it didn't this time, because I was already zoomed out. Okay, and I think the yaw is probably then what we're actually looking for to change. Not even. Ah. That's weird. We need to do this the other direction? No? Well... yeah, that's doing kind of weird stuff because I have this open, I think. So yeah, I think this is kind of more what we're looking for. Maybe? We'll see. It's kind of interesting though how you can see the idea of what the fuck even happened there. I think that's just a speed thing. How you can see the idea of like energy buildup in the curves for an animation. This also is going too fast, I think. It's from there to... yeah, there to there is... that is the part that's too fast. That needs to be stupidly slower. Okay, that's... now the entire swing is a little bit too slow, but that's something that we can fix. Matter of fact, what happens if... oh, that's not. I know that I'm cleaning up the keyframes and now I'm reintroducing new keyframes, but this is like a little trick creating like almost still frames in the animation that I just figured out is quite nice, I would say. It's just... okay, let's try this one. Hopefully you guys are having as much fun as I am. Which is to say, hopefully you guys are having more fun than I am. Because I am not particularly having a lot of fun with this. I hate every moment of this. Let's see. Sword attack 2. Would it make more sense to do slow, fast, slow, fast, slow? Maybe. So this one shouldn't actually be... yeah, I think that makes more sense. So let's make the swing here a fair bit faster after all. Not as fast as it was. Still a little bit slower. But faster than it is now. See what that looks like. And you see that is like effectively instant still. Oh, it's because this is the actual swing. Hold on. I hate animation with a burning passion. Let's make this bit a little faster then. And then let's just make the entire animation faster. Okay, that's animation number 2. Maybe improved, maybe not. We'll see. Probably need to ignore the lags. Ignore the lags. Don't let the lags bother you. It's bothering me. It's bothering me. It's bothering me. It's bothering me. Yeah, that's too slow. I think I've made... Okay, we've been working on this for an hour. I think I've made it worse than when we started. I think it's actively worse than when we started. How did I manage to do that? It's quite impressive, really. It's too slow. It's too fucking slow. Let's pull this back a little bit again, just to see if that makes any difference at all. It does not. It feels like some animations that I haven't even touched are worse. How does that even begin to make sense? I have no idea. Let's just see what happens if I play this at 1.5 times speed. Like, aside from me not having any forward movement anymore for some fucking reason, because it just doesn't feel like doing that apparently. Which is also an issue. It's not actually that bad. It's just not good. I think I might have overdone it a little bit with this, like, holding pose. I think that might be... Why is that 2 keyframes here back to back like that? It doesn't need to be a keyframe. Oh, fuck! Oh, that... Okay, so those can just be the same keyframe then, eh? Speeding it up again. I don't know, let me know. Is this even, like, remotely interesting to watch? I feel like I maybe shouldn't be doing this on stream. I feel like maybe this is work better suited to just doing while on my own time while I listen to, like, a podcast instead. Looking at my view account, it definitely... I mean, this is also a trend. Anytime I open the fucking animation timeline, people don't watch. I also haven't streamed in 2 weeks, though, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. So it's 1 and then quicker. the important thing is that they don't all feel like they're hitting the same beat, right? We need, if we're doing like Morse code, we need like dash dot dash dot dash for this combo. And then another combo can be dash dash like dot dot dash or dot dot dash dot dot dot, something like that. Well, the final one probably always should be a dash. So for this one, we just get rid of like the holding bit altogether. Maybe? I don't know. That might not have the effect that I wanted to have. But we'll figure it out, I suppose. I want to check something in my code, because I feel like I am gaslighting myself. When do I allow... Yeah, on blend out, the ability ends. So that should be here, minus 0.4 seconds. So that should be fucking there. Right, if we increase the blend out time here. Yeah. Maybe it just needs to be 0.5. I don't know. Actually, what might be better is making it shorter, because that's also... Okay, yeah. So making it shorter and happen a little earlier after all. So pulling this back to like there. And frankly, I think what I want to do is in this, maybe just not have like near any wind up for this animation at all. Like we have about a 1/10 of a second blend in. So that is about this long. With this specific animation, maybe we'd even lower the blend in time. So we go into this. And maybe we even halve the blend in time. It being a little choppy doesn't matter. Doesn't need to blend in very smoothly. At some point, we're going to get the magic numbers that just work. And then I just have to repeat that like a million more times for every other ability in the game. Attack 2 is so fucking slow itself as well. Why is that? It's not slow when I play it back in here, is it? It might be a little slow, actually. It's definitely not slow. No, fuck that. It's a half a second. Half a second is not slow. And if we even take this, it's only like 1/4 of a second. Is this playing back at a slower rate or whatever? Like, this definitely feels faster than we're seeing in game. Where is it? This feels definitely faster than we're seeing in game, right? It's gotta be the blending times, man, I'm telling you. Gotta be the blending times. You know what? I'm even gonna just close this sequence because that's fucked with things in the past. I mean, the timing of these events is absolutely fucked. This needs to happen. That might be what I'm feeling, to be honest with you. No, there still is a little bit too much of like... There's like a beat in between that and that. Okay, if I just spam click, it needs to come out faster. But I don't know if that is an issue with the end of Sword Attack 1 or the start of Attack 2. It must be the start of Attack 2. I don't even need to actually change this animation file itself. I can just do it in the montage. If we just pull the start time over a little bit more, does it feel more responsive then? I mean, aside from the fact that it doesn't set me forward anymore, it actually also doesn't feel that much more responsive. So then it must logically be the end of Attack 1 that needs to like wind down sooner or faster. Oh. So we have 0.35 seconds. So it'll be at about 0.4 it starts blending out. So that's about there. Makes sense to me though. That makes sense. I can give it 1/10 of a second more. Might be a combination of the two though. I think that might kind of be getting there. Like Attack 3 and 4 actually do this pretty well. Like that combination of bam bam. Actually, thinking back to everything I've been talking about, don't even get too bothered with the fucking knees, because that's always going to be an issue. No, that's not what I wanted to do at all. Specifically, I want to have this one go a little longer, I think. Okay. And if we do that, let's say that we do it that way, right? If we then go into this updated sword attack, I think this should start fading out a little sooner. So this is about 0.4, so about here, so that we can do the next attack faster. That's about it, yes. Well, the animation notifies, and this is kind of annoying the way that it works, but the animation notifies get put in like a specific time. So if I move the keyframes around in the animation, I also need to move the animation notifies. But I think we have some improvement here. I just need to... I think we're also getting to a point where I'm too focused on this now. Yeah, that's definitely like not it. Like the swing itself does need to like complete. Which might mean there's a slight issue with the... What if we make this very long and this also longer? So I think the rule that I'm going to set up is you can either have extra time at the start or at the end of an animation, but not both. So you can either have wind up or wind down in a gameplay animation. And this one has too much of both. So we need to like pull this back a bit. One, two, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. The rhythm still feels a little bit off. And I'm convinced it's mostly to do with the end of this animation. So this would mean that at about 0.3 it starts, it should be 0.4. It really shouldn't start fading out any before this. So maybe the animation itself is just too slow. You see that it feels like there is a little bit of a moment where he stands still there, and it's just like a split second too long. So that's, I think, where the issue lies. Like, this one has a wind up and too much of a wind down. And the same thing applies for the second one. So let's go back to this one. And increase the start time to like there. Don't go off the edge. This is pretty good tempo, I think, but now we need to go back to this. And maybe just for these ones, maybe all we need to do is just do this. Let's just check that out. Attack 4. I think this might already be fast enough, to be honest. Those last 3 attacks really hit like the spot, I think. We have the first 2 and then 1, 2, 3. That is really satisfying. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's not fine, though. No, it's not fine. Let's go back to Sword Attack 1, the actual animation sequence. And let's see what happens if we remove this. Clearly, we need to do a little bit extra work here on the curves. But I think that might not be that big a deal. Just gotta figure out which... I think it's the... yaw. No, it's not the yaw, it's the roll. Right? Okay, it's not the roll, it's the pitch. I always get them mixed up. It is the yaw. What the fuck? Yeah, so we do something a little like that. And what did that accomplish? Accomplished that is one keyframe motion now, which helps. Kind of. Also creates a few problems. Which we can fix. Like the sounds, by the way. I actually made those myself. So, thanks. This one doesn't do that much. This one probably should be a little bit more like that. It's mostly the roll on all the other joints, I'm guessing. Yes, that's the most important bit here. Clearly. But the pitch also does a fair bit. A little bit. Maybe not a fair bit, but it does something, okay? Does fucking something. One of these days I'm gonna get good at animation, and then the world's not ready for that day. I'm not ready for that day. Okay, that actually looks pretty fucking smooth, not gonna lie. I think I might actually, like, be kind of happy with that. I mean, aside from the fact that he's bending his knee backwards again, I'm not that happy with that. But, like, things can be fixed. Things can maybe be fixed a little bit. Maybe more of this kind of movement. That makes more sense. And again, the yaw here is still a little all over the place. Maybe what we do is more something along these lines. So it's supposed to be a forward slash, not even like an upward one. I think we're getting back into the category where I feel like things are improving again. So that's a potentially good sign. And then all of these individual keyframes can also like go fuck themselves. We have end position, rebalance position, back to start position. These are the only keyframes that you fucking need. And some of those things apparently didn't actually get keyframes in those specific keyframes. So I guess the way we do that is just... This is all like fade out stuff anyway, so it's not that relevant. But probably should still be like somewhat decent. This bit's also too long. And this bit's too long. I think that's mostly it. I think it's mostly recentering that just takes too long. Okay, his hips are doing some weird stuff there. This is all mostly about timing anyway. So the timing is really the only thing that matters right now, not the animation quality itself, which there's a link between the two, I know, but... Like, we needed to at least finish that swing. So about like 50, yeah, so we can't really... It does need just to take half a second to oh my god. So about here is where we can start fading out. So what I'm thinking might be the issue. Actually, I don't know, because looking at this, it doesn't feel like any particular part of the animation slows down. So maybe it is... I don't know. Maybe this guy does just need to have, like, do we have location stuff for him? It doesn't really unwind here very well because of that. Probably don't do that actually. Like, this is literally the only thing I can think of to like improve that. Oh my god, and then I fucked it. Nah. How? 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 How do I improve the transition from attack 1 to attack 2? Because there's no wind up to remove from this animation. This just immediately starts. I don't know. I'm really confused what the issue actually is here. Because I'm mashing the ever-living hell out of that button. I'm just gonna fucking speed it up by 20% and see what happens. That is better. Which implies that it is something to do with this animation. Okay, at this point, it's 0.75 seconds long, meaning that it can start blending out at 0.5. And the swing ends at about 0.5. And the moment it starts blending out, it is able to play the next animation. Let's make this 0.72. Even that doesn't do it. I think what we need to do, maybe, is instead of relying on the blend out moment, have a specific animation notify that we can place on each animation to tell it where we can start doing the next attack. I think that might make more sense. So what we would do is we would wait for event here. Or just wait event. Wait gameplay event. And when that event is received, we end ability. And the tag will be attack or something like that. We already have a gameplay event for player damage, player movement dash. We can just deal with attack, that's fine. Then in blueprints, if we make a animation notify BP player and attack, receive notify, mesh components get owner, cast to BP third person character, send gameplay event to actor, event tag will be attack. Make a payload. Don't really care, honestly. Just need to send like a message. Okay, so now that we don't have a finished implementation yet, we should only be able to attack once and then never again. Fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted. player end attack, we do here. And now it should automatically end the attack at that point. Which is actually a really good way to test this stuff out as well. Wait, what? Why can I not... because it was the second one already. That's weird, right? That is kind of weird. Anyway, when we do that, we also uncompleted, we end ability actually, anyway. But we also want to wait for input press. And then on press we end ability. So just for shits and giggles, let's put this thing way early on. It's just not doing it. Is it not receiving this thing? No, it is. That's just not... Oh. I think I know what's going on. It's not receiving this. Yeah, it's not doing that. And that is because... that's a very good question. Why is that? How have I set this up in... blueprints, characters player. I think I have this set up in C++, and I just... Yeah. The input ID, when it gives them... well, that's fixable, right? Like set weapon class, and there we have... That's not it. I think it's in cycle up weapon, cycle down weapon, maybe. Let's take a look. I think it's on the weapon class itself. It's been a while since I programmed that. So I need to take a look. Let's just look for weapon. There we go. On begin play, so what it does is it gets player character, it costs, ability system interface, ability system interface, get ability system component, give ability, in level input ID is just I. Oh. No, but that makes sense. Hold on. So then, character when I attack. That's the header file. I need to have this one. When I attack, try activate ability by class. Okay, so I'm giving them input IDs, but I'm not actually using them. So what we're doing instead, I guess, is let's comment that out. Press input ID. For attack counter. That should effectively do the same thing, but now actually use the input ID thing so that I can make use of that in a moment. I'm just going to try to do this with live coding because I don't want to restart the engine. No change detected, you say? I beg to differ. Let's see if... let's see if... Just let's see if... Why does it print status? Where the fuck would I make it print status? Still doesn't do this. You know, when we do this, instead of giving it input ID I, we can just give this... Oh no, it does need to all have its own input ID, don't they? Yeah, no, they do. In that case, I honestly do believe that it's just... didn't build properly into Unreal. It's taking a little bit longer now, so it's actually a good sign. So last time it took less than half a second, which it's only one line of code, but it's a pretty big file that I changed, so... Okay, that was a thing. Oh, it just did all of them. It just did all of them. Which is probably because... Why would that be? Wait, why does it doesn't even give the special ability? Why did it have the special ability for a weapon it wasn't even wielding? As well. Am I just giving these... manually? I mean, player dash and player heal, knockback, air recovery, that makes sense. None of those have input ID like 0 through like 5. I don't have like an abilities on startup, right? Yeah, I don't. Huh. Just out of curiosity, I don't need to print this out every frame anymore, actually. Get attack. Attack counter or attack index? I might have... I don't remember which one is which. But let's test them both. Starting with attack counter. Immediately jumps to 3. So it does all of them back to back to back to back. So it's attack counter that we're looking for. Did I use the wrong variable then? Probably not. Yeah, it's attack counter. So press input ID attack counter. Input ID would be I, right? So I don't understand. Oh, hold on. Ability handles. The special attack here anyway. Okay, so special attack should probably be like 999. That still doesn't explain a lot of what the hell is the issue there. Because it shouldn't have that ability until I switch weapons. What it does... Let's just see what this does for a change. Well, that's a start. It does seem like it's doing multiple. Also, why is it printing infinite hellos? Oh, that's why. It does immediately go to 3, then 5, 1, 4. So it is still executing multiple abilities at the same time. I can only imagine that that is because it is... Oh, you know why that is? It's because of this fucking thing. Yeah, maybe I should just make that a static mesh. That makes a lot of sense. So what's happening here is that there is an instance of the sword and the scythe present here, which is a huge fucking problem because it still applies just to the player character. So if we just go into the persistent world, just like the gameplay level, that should have been fixed. But, and here's where the funny thing comes in, that means that we just can't use that level for testing anymore. Which is fucked up. Still adds 2 every single time. Why? Still like... technically I think is... Why is there a player sword all the way the fuck over here? It's a static mesh, so that's not even it. Oh, we have that issue again where this dude has 2 swords. Do we? We've had this issue before. But this time both of the swords, I guess, are just on top of each other. Yeah, it just has 2 swords. Why does my character have 2 swords? Can I, like, reload this or something? The fact that this thing has 2 swords actually is weird and problematic to begin with. So if I just put another one of these in here, this one just has 1 sword. But I really don't want to get rid of this one because he's using a level blueprint, I think. Right. Actually, only in one place. If I just, like, take your transform, remove you, oh, hold on. Yeah, no, I think I just straight up do need to remove you. Oh, but that's... Oh, no, no, I can't do that because I use them in cutscenes. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. Which is to say, we'll probably, like, Control-Z our way through this at some point. In a moment. I just need to figure out if this fucking works. Okay, so assuming we only have one of these guys in here, that works. The fact that he has two swords is weird and needs to be figured out at some point. Let's be 100% clear about that. But for now, also for testing related purposes and stuff, I guess what we can do is we can go into this weapon and check like if ability system interface ability system components has ability. Has activatable triggered ability. What does this do? Doesn't say what it does. Well, look, what I could do instead, which would be fucking very bothersome. Why can I even give something the same ability twice? What the fuck is that? Okay, think. So I guess what I could do instead of using this input ID is going back to here. Is do this still. And then just send yet another gameplay event. Like one to allow it to stop, and then another one on click when I want it to actually stop. So I can, because I can just put in the event graph here, like input action attack, right? Yeah. Send gameplay event to actor. Attack dot end. Get fucked. Attack dot end. And then in here, instead of waiting for this press, it's a little only exact matches, yes. It's a little unorthodox doing it this way, but it'll work. I hope. I really need to fix up that menu. Okay, so this will work now, right? This other sword is just sticking out of my ass now. Oh, and now the other sword can be deleted. So my initial input-related version would just work. I guess it's okay, because the Night Boss himself, I believe, also just uses this sword. Maybe? Does he? Like, this guy just has... Maybe not, actually. No, he just has a static mesh. As he should. Actually, I don't think the code is working at all. Yeah, no, I don't think it is. Because it should be printing in hell. Yeah, it's not working. Why is it not working? Because I'm not putting in an actor. That makes sense. Still not doing it. Why not? Is this failing? No, that's not failing. And surely this is not failing either. It does disable my input for a little while. I forgot about that. Where does it actually re-enable my input? Disables my input? At what point does it re-enable input? Only on endability, doesn't it? Yeah. So combo length. When that's false, it enables input. Also, otherwise it resets. Okay, so the enable input should be... This is a little messy, but this should go there. Oh, no, it should still also automatically... Where is endability? There it is. It should still do this on endability, just in case. Okay, but that still doesn't make a lot of sense because maybe it does. Hold on. Like, this effectively should allow me to... It does. Okay. So now we can just start playing around with where we want to put this. Huh? I mean, it should probably just be a little later anyway. But why does that not allow me to... to do the thing? Anyway, let's add in these notifies in the other attacks as well. Like right, yep. Nice and early for this one. Decently early for this one, and then we have this one. Pretty late. Oh my god. What the fuck is the issue? Is there anything here? Like this could potentially be a problem if it doesn't work the way I think it works. All of this is just waiting for damage from the player, and everything after it is effectively instant. And anything that's not instant is not handled by this ability, so that's not the issue. I guess we're ending the ability too early, and that results in something for some reason. Let's just pull this a little bit later and see if it still does that. Why does it do that? Because it does reset it back to 0. And there's no reason that it... I guess on... but that's weird. That's weird. But that might be what's happening. So, uninterrupted also needs to end the ability, I guess. And maybe uncancelled as well. Nope. That's not the fucking issue. So we're at 45 frames. I guess what's happening is that the damage box hasn't been turned off yet. So we can't have that be... But why not? What does damage box turn off do? Just sets the sword's hitbox. And the iframe ball, I guess, but that really shouldn't matter. So why are these two interacting that weirdly with each other? I do not know. Why does it stop behaving weirdly now as well? Did I? Did I move? I don't think I moved. I did. I didn't change anything, but now it works. I didn't fucking change anything, but now it works. I have no idea what today even is. But I guess we can pull this back even a little bit longer, or earlier rather. And pull this back to like 45 frames as well. And maybe it does still recognize this as... Okay, so first and foremost, whenever this happens, we also set sort of hitbox to... So yeah, on and ability, since we already do this anyway, so why don't we do this just... Sword hitbox just to falls at the end here as well. I don't see how that would have effect on the combo system. Oh, because of the iframes. No, that does make sense. Because when iframes are true, it doesn't let you attack again. So now that should actually... Holy shit, that's a lot better. Okay. That did fix my shit. So now I have more control over fine timing. Okay. Fix that shit. Now it actually feels kind of good. So we can even pull this back a little bit more for both of them, I think. It's nice to have a separate editable, like, timing device now. Yeah, that's good. So that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Or it's more like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see how this feels when we actually start stomping on an enemy. And also use the controller for it. I knew this was going to happen. Okay, let's test it out on a couple more enemies at once. You know, due to the, like, freeze frame effect that I've implemented, it doesn't actually... Like, in actual combat, it feels very differently again. And it kind of just makes everything a little bit more, like, homogeneous. Why are you doing that attack twice in a row? You shouldn't be able to do that. And why do you suddenly spawn the other enemies while you didn't do before? That's also worrying. I thought I just messed up. But apparently you randomly just decide to work or not to work. Might have been something to do with the fact that I have live coding enabled at the moment, actually. I must admit, I'm actually kind of happy with how all this works. And now it doesn't spawn the last way. It's kind of weird in what it spawns and what it doesn't spawn. But that feels quite good at the moment. So that's actually positive progress. I swear to God, if I give this to the test players and they say it still doesn't feel good, I'm going to lose my mind. Because I don't know at this point how I would improve it anymore. But before we can do that, I need proximity-based combat anyway. Which I'm not going to program here today, because it's already been 3 hours. So I'm going to close Unreal Engine after I do a proper rebuild, so that I have everything like actually compiled. Then I'm going to close Unreal Engine, and then we're going to play a little bit more Kingdom Hearts 1. Hopefully I do have an endgame save for that. I think I do. To feel what that is like. Then some more Kingdom Hearts 2 again to feel what that is like. I feel like I can still slow things down a little bit compared to how I have them now. I think they're still a little bit too fast. That said, my animations and attacks just also maybe do need to be a bit faster because they're less well crafted, the animations. And that's just kind of the reality that I have to deal with. Surprisingly stable internet connection though. I've only dropped 72 frames throughout this entire stream so far. So yeah, I think on Thursday we might do a little bit more animation again for the scythe this time, which will include more making new animations from the ground up, I guess, as well. And then next week we'll probably dedicate to making the proximity-based system, which then also needs new animations. I need to think through what I want to do for the proximity-based system to begin with, because we also, just to test out real quick, that does feel really good. Because what I'm thinking is we have like 4 elements to the proximity-based system, right? We have a dash attack, which should only happen at the start of a combo. We have the like area attack if there's multiple enemies around you within a certain radius, which is very easy to sample. It's literally just doing a sphere overlap, filtering on enemy class things, and if it's like more than 3, do that attack. That probably should only happen at either the start of a combo or the end of a combo. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do for that yet, though. Because you can either have it at the start of a combo where you knock everything around you back, so that you have to focus in on one of them with then the dash attack, and then can go into the combo. Or you can, like, combo something into a, like, other group of enemies and then finish off with something that hits them all. But your normal attacks would hit them all anyway, because you can hit multiple enemies with one attack. So I think the first one does make more sense. If there's multiple enemies around you, it does like a spin attack. And then the up and the downward attacks, I don't know that we need that, to be honest with you. Maybe the upward attack. Maybe not the downward attack though. So if an enemy is more than a certain distance above you, it does a specific attack where it does like an upward motion. But as you could see like a moment ago, the floatiness of the combat in general is such that it kind of just takes care of elevated enemies anyway. And it does save me making an animation, like 1 animation or 2 animations per weapon, if I don't have to do that. So I guess we're going to do dash and surround attack first, and then leave the door open to other types of attacks later. I think that makes sense. Yeah, okay. So that's the way I think we're going to do it. For now, though, let's do a little bit extra Kingdom Hearts stuff. And then we'll call it a day. Oh man, I got a bottle of water at the start of the stream and it's like warm now. It's really kind of gross. It's like fresh from the tap. Cold water. Which honestly I'm surprised that it was cold out of the tap anyway, because again it's been fucking hot for a few days, so. I guess it's comparatively hot, or comparatively cold to how hot it is outside. Like, the water that comes out of the tap is definitely colder in winter times. Homecoming is the end of the game, right? Oh, like that's super the end of the game. Well, I guess we're testing this against Darkseid. It's actually interesting. I feel like the combos come out faster in Kingdom Hearts 1 than they do in 2. I guess, look, 1, 2... That said, those were all aerial combos, and I do know from speedrunning that air combos are faster in Kingdom Hearts 1 than they are like land combos. My game doesn't have a difference between the two of them. Yeah, you see, land combos are significantly slower. So that's not the tempo I want. The tempo I want is definitely closer to that. And I feel like that's actually pretty close to the tempo I have. I also need to not die. Too late. I died. Let's not do a boss fight. Waterway. We can do waterway. Oh, no, we can't do... Wait. I have my wooden sword and done on the goof. This must be a randomizer thing as well. Right? Unless the wooden sword... I think what happened in the randomizer run that these saves come from is that the wooden sword actually ended up being like a monstrously good weapon. So I equipped a wooden sword as my weapon, but now I don't have the randomizer installed anymore, so it's just the wooden sword. Which seemingly is like hard-coded usually to be unequipable. Which is interesting. Castle Chapel. Let's see. Do we still have the wooden sword? We don't. We have the pumpkin hat. I was gonna say the thing from Kingdom Hearts 2. I definitely like 1, 2, 3. It's still a little bit slower than my game, actually. Not that much. Like, definitely the ground combos are. And the difficult part about this is because it's so fast, it's really difficult to like analyze the animations in real time. So I probably just need to like record this and go frame by frame. That's probably the way to go. Fucking Donald! It's 1, 2, 3. Ha ha ha. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we have 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I have a vague feeling for rhythm there now. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I need to keep the feeling of that in my mind. Like 1, 2, 3. And the longer it takes, the more afraid I am that I'm losing the actual like cadence and rhythm. And this takes a while to load up. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Please just load. God, I can't wait until I can upgrade my GPU and maybe I can run Unreal and Kingdom Hearts at the same time. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I need a metronome for this timing. Like, what kind of BPM is that? Like, 1, 2, 3. Can I just, like, not have it update every file in my revision control status? When I open a project? I need to look at the plugin I use for that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because that is largely what is causing the problem here. It's that revision control plugin. It's just, I have a lot of files. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am a fair bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So let's try to just see if we can get close to that tempo. Through animations. Characters, players, montages. By just pulling this back a little and then maybe putting this at 0.9. Oh, no. 0.9 speed. 1, 2, 3. I'm aware that my combo has 5 hits as well. Actually, that's probably fine. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Effectively, those last 3 hits function in the rhythm as like the final like 1 hit there. And like the 3 beats. That's 1, 2, 3. That's more like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so those need to be a little bit faster to make that work, but that makes it a 4-beat system. So this one also just needs to then be like probably increased to a little bit like that. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Needs to be a clear distinction between animation 4 and 5, so this actually needs to go a little bit later. And maybe we need to put that to like 1.1 times speed. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, those need to be faster if I'm going to do that. So something like that. And frankly, maybe this needs to be a little bit faster as well to make it work. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that feels pretty good. Like 1, 2, quick, and 1, 2, quick, and. It feels like an actual combo with actual like dynamic flow to it rather than just 5 attacks in a row now. So that's good. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I feel like maybe perhaps we can try to like start this one a little later, like right over here. I don't know if that's going to be jarring, but yeah, no, the timing there feels really good. I actually think that this one is fine to take a little bit longer and can just be at 1x speed. Yeah, there's a rhythm to it now. Well, that's been 3 hours of my life to get to this point, and I think it is an improvement over where we started 3 hours ago, so that's probably good. But I'm going to have to look at this tomorrow when I don't have 3 hours of work fresh in my mind, so I can be a little bit more objective about it. Right now, I feel like it is better, and if it's not, I'm going to spiral into a depressive episode. So, I'll be back on Thursday, same time, same channel, all that kind of good stuff. And kind of the same workflow. We're going to do this, but for the scythe. Isn't my life fantastic? I will see you then. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out, chilling. It's been a slow stream, but it's been a couple of weeks since I've been live, so that was to be expected. And again, nobody likes animation. I know. Me neither. Is it the only way that I can fucking push myself to spend more than 2 seconds on it? So, there's that.